Easy team, Friday. And as you've guessed, I'm back in bridge. Managed to get back in bridge where I left off. So yeah, today was a bit of a... I've been thinking about bridge all day. Obviously, it's a fat southwesterly gushing into bridge in there today. Mid-20s, mid to high 20 temps, 15, 20 mile an hour winds gushing in here. I thought they'd be down here. Stuffing that bait I put in there Wednesday. So I put some bait in there before I went round to Orchard Wednesday morning, just because that's what I do. Just on the chance that I could get in again. It's just worth just a little bit. And yeah, a little bit of an anxious drive on the way here. I got to Barford and there was cones across the road, coppers and fire engines. I was like, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? So I had to turn around and go around the long way. I got to the gate about 7:15, something like that. And you still can't see who's in here. You have to get in the complex. I sort of got in the complex, and as soon as you get back in the van, you can have a look. And 2 seconds. And yeah, no one in bridge. I was like, yes! So, not really ideal, guys, right? You should never have a preset plan like that. Always turn up to the lake, go for a walk round, address the situation, and then make your decision. But not me, not tonight. I even bypassed toilet, which is the first time I've not looked in toilet since I can't remember. I always look in toilet, but not tonight. I was fucking straight round here, skidded to a halt, jumped out the van. I kid you not, guys, I could smell the fish. I jumped out the van and it had that whiff of fucking fanny in the air. You know, like your net. Yeah, that smell. And that is the thing. If you get a lot of fish in an area and they're active and you've got a big wind, you can literally smell the fish. It happens in all the big gravel pits I used to fish. If you're on the end of a new wind and there's a load of fish and they're rubbing themselves about and having a good party and that, you can literally smell the fish. So yeah, I was like, there's fish in the area. So I wasted no time and jumped in here. So not only is there no one here, there is no one on the complex. Unless there's someone fishing public side of Orchard, which I doubt. So I can't believe it. So tonight, guys, I can shut my mouth off as much as I want and it won't matter. But yeah, I can't believe there's no one here apart from me. Unbelievable. So anyway, I wasted no time, jumped in here, refreshed the rigs, managed to find some of my medium curves, the Carp Spirit medium curves. I knew I had some somewhere. They're in the van in a little drawer. My little secret. They're that secret I couldn't find them. But I managed to find them, so refreshed all the rigs. And I've blown 3 rods towards the tree. And that's how I used to fish this swim all the time. The one over to the reeds is like a new thing, but I used to fish 3 rods towards the tree. And if they're having it, it's a really good tactic to ploy because I'm only here for a night. If one goes sort of as it's getting dark and you don't disturb the other 2 rods, I'd just leave the other 2 rods fishing and not bother putting that one out. And then on occasions, you'd get another rod bust off sort of 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And again, if it didn't disturb the rod that was left, I'd just leave the 1 rod fishing. Because I've had 2 fish from the spot that's fish in the area. I don't know how much bait they've eaten. I guess I could put them out without any bait. But no, I just leave 1 rod fishing. And as it gets light, obviously, they're getting through the rest of the bait because there's no more bait being put out. Only 1 line to the spot. And if I've had 2 fish on the 2 rods, I wouldn't say more often than not, but on occasions, the 3rd one's gone in the morning. So, and that's how I used to fish this all the time. So I've gone with that tactic tonight. 3 rods blown out towards the tree where I smashed the bait in Wednesday morning. I mean, I'm hoping no one's been in here since then. I mean, it's hard to say, but there's no one here now, so you would say that perhaps the swimmer's been vacant, but you never know. But we're fishing, guys. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I can make amends for the mistake I made Tuesday evening. That's what I'm hoping. You know, that's still hurting. That is still hurting. That loss. That was a good fish. It was a fucking good one. That. And the trouble is, I know which are the good fish in here. You know, so I know it was either Demi, it was Frank. You know, that big common. It was one of them. You know, and that's. I would imagine. I know you can't tell, but so my runners, I have one click less than locked up. So it's not very often fish takes line. Okay, buckles the rod round. That was pulling line, and for that to pull line, that has to be a bigger. So, but anyway, the rods are out. Round 3. Let's hope it happens. I'm gonna leave it there, guys, and catch up with you. Hasn't we? Right, guys. So I get a lot of messages, right, about what spod mix I use. So I'm going to run through mine with you. I don't at all. I don't get any messages. No one messages me, right? But for some reason, that's how people start videos and little short blogs, don't they? I do get a lot of messages about what rods I use. I do get a lot of messages about what's in my spod mix. Oh, I do get a lot of messages about what pop-ups I use and all the rest of it. And it's like, no, you don't. Stop lying. You're just saying that so you can start a video. So I'm gonna say it so I can start my little piece. So I get a lot of messages, guys, about people wanting to know what spod mix I use and what I put in my boat and all the rest of it. So I'm gonna run through my summer mix, okay? Right. So I start with particle. This is for like a 3 kilo mix. I don't tend to mix up a lot. Just enough for a session, you know, a little bit festering for the next session, but that's gone by the next session. I don't tend to mix up loads at a time, just as and when I need it. That way it's nice and fresh in it. But yeah, I start off with some particle, which is a party blend, which I get from Perfect Particles. You can buy them online. I just buy 5 kilos at a time. 2-day delivery, plus it saves it going off because it's fresh. So I start with just a kilo of that in the bucket. Now after I've smashed some of that in the bucket, I put a mixture of 4 and 6 mil pellets in there with it, just a scoop. And then I put a scoop of bag mix in it, which either be Trigger or BFM, depending on the time of year. This time of year I used the BFM, not the fish meal, that goes in there as well. Give that a good old mix up, and then what I do is I crack some solubles in half. We're all aware of solubles yet? Crack some solubles in half, probably 2 or 3 handfuls, and then the last sort of base of the mix is 10 mils, and with the 10 mils I use a mixture of Trigger and BFM in 10 mils. Smash that in a bucket, give it all a good mix up, and then what I do is I just add some boilie dip to that, and then depending on what time of year, I'll use either like a stinger oil or fish oil, which I've got today, or in the winter it'll be like a hemp oil, you know, something that won't congeal, and that pretty much consists of my boat mix, really, you know. If I'm spodding, I don't tend to use particle, okay? I tend to use sort of boilies and boilies only. I will use particle if I don't know sort of what's in the lake, but if I know there's only carp in the lake, I tend to just spod boilies. And the reason for that is because I mainly fish overnighters, and my spodding, it's all right. It's average, you know? I'm not the king spodder, not anymore anyway. So obviously I'm there for a night, so my time's limited. So what I find that if I'm going to spot out particle and I'm getting wayward ones here and there and the rest of it, obviously particle slows the fish feeding down because there's tiny fucking little bits in it. So if I use boilie only, there's less items for them to eat, so they can get through it quickly and move around it quickly. So say for instance when I fish Joneses, boilies only. So the odd wayward one, 15 boilies in the spod, I use middies anyway. I can't use the big ones anymore. It's just too much for me back and my arm. So I use the little midi ones. You get away with boilies spod. Always 15 boilies they've got to get through, not hundreds of little particly bits in it. So I do tend to use boilies, and I tend to use different sizes as well when I'm boilie only fishing. I think that can only help, because if you use just one size, this isn't all the end all, it's just what works for me. If you use one size, fish get accustomed to that 15, so they'll go around just not even have to think about how much, what's the word for it, suck it takes to take on a 15. And then when they come across your rig, they can detect it instantly without even thinking about it, because your rig, I don't care what you say, the rig is going to react differently, because a boilie without anything attached to it is going to react differently to one with a rigging. And they've probably picked up 30, 40 baits, and then they come across the one with the rigging and it reacts differently, and they'll eject it, and you probably won't even get a beep on your alarms because of it. So what I've found is if you use a different size baits, 10s, 15s, perhaps throw a few 18s in it, it just gets the fish working, and your rig becomes a little bit less sort of detectable, you know. And I think if you fish like that when you're boilie only fishing, I think it can just get you a few extra bites in the course of a year, where perhaps on that evening or that overnighter you may not have caught if you hadn't have deployed that tactic. But again, that just works for me, and just something in my noggin, and it so, and something I do. But I do tend to use a mixture of baits and a mixture of flavours, just a variety of the buffet, that's all. So yeah, so these have quietened down a little bit now. They were knocking sort of quite heavily up to about half an hour ago. Just quietened down. I've heard a couple of fish sort of splosh in the vicinity, so I'm optimistic. I reckon this one's going to bust off, I think, but that's the beauty of carp fishing, isn't it? You just never know until it happens. But I'm sat here with anticipation, so I shall get back to you if something happens. If not, I'll see you in the morning with a face on. It's 10:30 and it's dark, guys. It's another quarter of an hour and that's pitch black, I reckon, with a cloud cover. It's the rods have very quiet, as I was expecting something to happen after the activity I had earlier, so to speak. I had a couple of sharp ones and a couple of low ones. Now what's happened is the line has taken on water. It's lifted the bobbins up to the top, but I don't tend to mind that too much. It tends to keep them a bit quieter overnight, and obviously you don't get too much, but you get a series of bleeps when you get a take. But anyway, so now it's time for Jack and Ori tell us a story, because apparently the story's pretty good. So over 30 years carp fishing, I've got fucking loads of stories. I have. Some are a bit nasty and a bit bone chilling. I won't go into that one tonight. It's not a very nice story to tell. In fact, I ain't told too many people. It's not very nice, that one, but I'll tell you another one, another light-hearted one. Another really good one, when a plan comes together. So it was one summer's night. I was walking round, there's a few people on, and I very rarely fish suicide. Suicide's a lake, a swim in sort of the middle of the lake. And back then it was very reed set. So you had 2/3 of water and 1/3 of reeds, and the fish obviously love getting in there, and they spend all day in the middle of the reeds, and you can get to them obviously, and all the rest of it. It became evident that evening that there was a lot of fish in them reeds just having a play. With that, fairly shallow swim, very weedy, okay, and just one of them swims where you're just going to plop them in, use your boat stealthily, start crashing about, and they just vacate and just disperse down the rest of the lake. So I was like, am I going to get 2 rigs in here? I didn't have any bags on me, anything like that. Am I going to get 2 rigs in here and get them fishing effectively? So what I come up with, I'm going to get fucking hounded for this, right? So I've got hold of my weed rake. I've got some longer nylon out of the truck or the van. I needed about, I don't know, 20 metres of nylon on this weed rake or whatever it was. When I say nylon, I don't mean line, I mean rope nylon. And I then descended to put it in my microcat, okay? So rake up through the microcat towards the reeds, and there's a big old set of reeds directly in front of me, which were a bit longer, so I knew which ones they were. Literally nosed the boat on the base of, well, not the base of the reeds, but where the reeds touch the water, drop the rake. And then there's a little sharp tug, and then really, really gently sort of pulling it back through the swim. I'd done that 6 times, and by the end of that, half a dozen times, I had quite a substantial amount of this sort of like Canadian shitty weed in the swim. And I dribbled the microcat back out there. I had the old Fulcrum Designs echo sounder, not the greatest, but it did show that I'd cleaned a spot, sort of about the size of a bin lid, that I could put 2 baits, right? So I threw 2 baits in that little bin lid, a few bits and pieces over the top, and left them fishing. Anyway, that night, the wind and that, I remember it just died a death, and I remember sitting there thinking, fuck it, I bet I've scared them off for that rake. I didn't have nothing by morning. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun was getting up, and I was like, I've scared them off with a rake, or they've moved off, whatever. And I remember, because I was sat on my chair like I am now, just looking at my rods there directly in front of me, and the left down one just pulled dead. I had to fish them dead tight, probably that tight. It lifted the leader up, really ping tight, because if they get in them reeds, there's so much of them, I bother to get them out. So I used to fish literally ding 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 guitar string tight, you know. And the left hand rod busted into one. I jumped out, grabbed hold of it, and it's a stalemate instantly. Like, the fish come up in the water, and I see it was Paddy. So like from literally 2 seconds of picking the rod up, he comes up in the water, and I could see I had Paddy on the end of it. I could tell it was Paddy straight away. Big fucking ghosty, big tail, and all I could see is his fucking tail. As he's trying to thunder into these reeds. And the stalemate, it felt like an eternity, you know. Anyway, I managed to get him out of these reeds, and he steams off down to the left. And again, you've got to be careful, because there's this big tree in the edge just down here, and if he takes too much line, they'll just swing round, and that'll give you all a load of more problems. We managed to sort of swing him round that way, and he comes steaming across in front of me. And then I managed to turn him before he sort of got towards this tree by the point swim. And then on that turn, that's when you got the better of them. They're the bigger ones, a lot of fat man, aren't they? They have like an initial run for a bit, and then they're out of breath, you know. They're sort of like a fat man running across a car park at the Burger King. By the time they get to Burger King, they're fucking knackered, aren't they? But yeah, he just sort of like plumbed in front of me. And after a little while, we just rolled Paddy over the net cord. And yeah, so yeah, we caught Paddy using a weed rake in the microcat. And I don't tell many people that, because probably get frowned upon on it, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a hack, isn't it? And if you got a hack, use your hacks, guys. Paddy with the use of a weed rake in a microcat. Hey, worked, it worked. Anyway, guys, that's enough of story time. I'm going to try and get my head down. I've got to get off tomorrow quite early, so, but who knows? What'll happen will happen. Morning, team. And what a cracking morning it is. The wind subsided a bit, I'm thankful of. But yeah, I feel battered. I mean, I look battered. But yeah, let's get here. I need to sit down. So yeah, all was quiet last night until, I don't know, 1:30, something like that. And I was expecting one of them to bust off. Didn't happen. I had a few bleeps and all of the rods sort of in short succession, so to speak. That's a good one, isn't it? That's what I used. And it didn't happen at that time, and it went all quiet again. I thought, that's strange, and I started sort of worrying about the rods, really, to be fair. And then at about, must have been, I think it was 2:30, 20 to 3. I had a couple of short, sharp bleeps on the left-hand rod, which was enough to get me out. And I was looking at it, and I see the tension on it, and there's a fish on that. So I picked the rod up, and yeah, there was a fish on. I mean, what he'd done is he'd got hooked, and he'd just swinging on, not a tight line, he hadn't really pulling, he was just swinging on obviously a tight line, but it was just swinging out. So, because by the time I got to him, by the time I picked the rod up, he was out of the tree by a good rod length or so. And once I pulled into him and gave him a bit of welly, he'd sort of realised what was going on, and he come round in front of me and started darting towards the pads down to my right, which is what they do in here if they come out the tree quite quickly, because it's only shallow, they just tend to swing round. And I could feel it was sort of fairly decent, you know. He's had a bit about him. There's a couple of big heavy lunges and what have you, and he just wallowed about in front for sort of 3 or 4 minutes in and amongst the cabbages and what have you. But yeah, there weren't no disasters or anything like that. And after 3 or 4 minutes, we rolled him over the net. So, and in come this big sort of long common. I don't think I've seen that one before. So I was really chuffed with him. I left him in the sling for a little while, just while I set my camera up. And he was that long. I had a job getting him in the frame where I normally set my cradle from the camera, and I was like, oh hey, he is long, this one. So I just budged it back a little bit, and we got some better snaps. But I think he was one of the old ones in. He was, I mean, I kid you not, he was sort of 3 foot long, this thing. Sort of some withered little fins, and his mouth had seen some action, you know. His eyes were sort of popping out of his head and what have you. And yeah, he's an old one. I reckon he was king of the pond once upon a time. I did pop him on the scales. He was just under 22 pounds, but I think once upon a time, I think he was, you know, a big old boy. It's, I mean, there's fish in here that have been in here 40 years. I think he was one of them. And then when I put him back, it's like the most lethargic sort of release I've ever had. I put him back and opened the sling up and was like, "Hey, go mate, go on." He just sort of sat there, like just getting his bearings again, you know. And so you gonna go, or are you just gonna hang about, or what have you? And after about a minute, he was perfectly fine. After about a minute, like the slowest descent in the lake ever. Just, all right then, I'm off. And away he went, so he's all right. Whilst I was playing him, there were some crashes under the tree and by the tree, and I thought another one would go pretty quick, but it didn't happen. But I was quite confident of another bite, to be fair. I obviously left the other 2 rods fishing. What's it now? It's 7 o'clock now. And no, they've remained motionless, which has surprised me. But so I'm intrigued to see what they're like when I bring them in. I might have a bit of leaf round the hooks or something. It's quite silty down there and what have you, you know. But who knows? But I'm going to crack it off there now, guys. I need to get going. I've got about an hour or so left, something like that. But I need to get home by about 20 past 8, something like that. So I'm going to crack it off there now, guys, and get this stuff packed up. So thanks for watching. It's been a joy as always. It's the planets aligned again. We managed to catch another one, which is all good. So yeah, pucker. Cheers for watching, guys, and see you on the next one. God, mate, I mean, Go on, buddy. You can make it. I tell you what, don't you rush, will you? I'm only getting wet here. Don't you rush. Come on, mate. I tell you what, this old boy's like Mr. Docile. Mr. I can't be bothered.